If you're a business owner with a small team and you don't know who to hire next, you're about to waste a lot of money on the wrong person. Most founders hire based on who's available or who can take the most tasks off their plate. That's not always the right way to go about it. The right next hire isn't about filling a gap, it's about multiplying your capacity. So I'm going to walk you through the exact framework I use to figure out who to hire next. And it's a part of something I call the time freedom triangle, and the first step of that triangle is to hire people. So I'll show you how to audit your time, figure out what's costing you the most money, and turn that into a job description that actually moves your business forward. And by the end, you'll know exactly who to bring in next and why. But before we dive in, I'm just getting this channel off the ground. So can I ask you a small favor? Hitting subscribe is completely free for you, but it's really valuable for me. And I promise that in return, I'll keep earning your trust with the best content I can make so I can help you make more money and build real freedom. So thanks for the love and let's get into it. So let's start with the biggest mistake I see founders make when they're ready to scale their team. Before we dive into the framework, let me tell you what I learned the hard way about hiring when you already have a team. Once you've got a small team, your next hire isn't about survival anymore. It's about scale, and that changes everything. When I started my recruitment agency, I was alone and I spent all my time getting clients. But since we only got paid on delivery, once I had clients, I had to spend all my time on delivery. So I worked with a salesperson to get me clients to take that off my plate. And then I hired recruiters and my job changed completely. I was hiring and training full-time plus doing all my own admin, so I was working crazy days, crazy hours. And once my team was up to speed, I shifted my focus to marketing to bring in more clients and candidates, and that became another 20-hour extra per week job on top of working with my team. So I hired a marketer, and that one hire freed up about 20 hours a week and let me focus on growth instead of being buried in ads, campaigns, social medias and whatnot. So here's the pattern. I look at what takes the most time and what my next logical step is in the company. At one point, I hired a personal assistant part-time as a freelancer because I didn't have enough work for a full-time employee. So she took over admin, invoicing and accounting, and that freed about 10-ish hours per week, depending on how busy we were. And that's the difference. Your next hire should multiply your time, not just fill it differently. The real question isn't who can help me, it's who can replace me where I am the bottleneck. And once you understand that, the next mistake is still hiring based on price. And this one costs more than you think. If you're hiring based on who's cheapest, you're literally stealing from yourself. Cheap people are usually not good, and good people are usually not cheap. That's just reality. But most owners don't realize it's better to pay more and get more back. I mean, paying less and getting less is like, lighting your own money on fire. So, for example, would you rather pay someone $3,000 a month and then get back $20,000, or pay someone $5,000 a month and get $30,000 back? You take the second option every single time. But then founders get scared and they think, yeah, but what if they don't perform at that price? And that fear usually reflects how you see yourself and your ability to work with high performers. So take the risk. High performers are really, really worth it. They will save you hundreds of hours in training and fixing mistakes alone. They move faster, they think sharper, and they don't need the same babysitting as other employees might. So when you're scaling a team, you can't afford people who need constant hand-holding. You need people who take ownership and just run with it. So stop hiring cheap and start hiring for impact. All right, now that we've covered the mindset, let's get tactical. I'll walk you through the exact framework I use to decide who to hire next. And if you want to follow along, grab the free Time Freedom Triangle download in the description. Most business owners are stuck because they don't have a system for hiring, training, and delegating. So let me give you one. It's called the Time Freedom Triangle, and it's a process I used to go from 12-hour days to 3-hour days while keeping the business growing. So here is how it works. First, you hire to win back time so you can make more money and you stop doing things you hate or suck at. Then you train by working side by side until they're good enough and you document the process so you don't have to repeat yourself every single time. And then finally, you delegate by setting clear KPIs, tying them to simple bonuses, and then having people report back to you so you're not micromanaging all the time. So you hire, you train, and you delegate. Shocking, I know. But when you already have a team, getting hiring wrong just doesn't waste money. It slows everything and everyone down. So get it right, and every new person gives you time back instead of taking it. When you stack hire, train, and delegate in that order, every new hire becomes a force multiplier and not just another problem. And the first step is auditing your time. Even if you were hired before, most founders have no idea where their hours are going. So, which is why they keep hiring the wrong people. If you don't know where your time is going, you're about to hire someone for the wrong role. And this is the simplest exercise, but no one does it. Open your calendar or think through a typical week. Group your tasks into different buckets. So you group sales, admin, delivery, marketing, firefighting, and whatever fits your business. And then you ballpark how many hours per week you spend in each bucket. And maybe it's 10 managing your team, and then 15 hours on client calls, and 8 hours on delivery, and 5 on random stuff. But write it down. And this is your time map, let's call it, because you can't delegate what you can't see. And most founders think they're spending their time on high value work, but when they track it, they realize they're drowning in managing and firefighting or doing things below their pay grade. And with a team, this is even more important because you're just not tracking your time, you're tracking where you are the bottleneck. And once you see where your week actually goes, you can finally be honest about what needs to change. Next, you need to figure out which of those buckets is actually paying you and which ones are just keeping you busy. The tasks eating up your time might not be making you any money. And that's the biggest problem. Now that you've got your time into buckets, it's time to label them. So for each one, ask yourself, does this bring in money? So you label each bucket. You've got a bucket with direct revenue, so what brings in money now, like sales or delivery. You've got indirect revenue, so what supports money, like marketing or lead gen. And then you've got the no revenue bucket, which is just the busy work, the managing, the double checking, the firefighting, and whatever floats your boat. So you want to keep the high leverage, high revenue buckets and replace the low value ones. If you're spending 10 hours a week managing your team and it brings in $0, that's kind of a big problem, because that's 10 hours you could spend on sales, you could spend on strategy or anything that actually moves the needle. Most founders realize they spend half their week on tasks that don't matter. And as I said, with a team, it's worse, because you think you're being a good leader by being in everything, but you're not. You're just being a bottleneck. And the goal is simple. Keep the high value hours, replace the low value hours. That's the game. It's not about only money. It's also about what you hate or what you're bad at. If you're spending hours every week on something you hate or you suck at, you're wasting your most valuable asset, which is you. And this is where it gets honest. Go back to your time buckets and ask 2 questions. What do I dread on my calendar? And where am I slow or sloppy? And for each bucket, you decide, do I keep this for now? Do I just drop it because it doesn't even need doing? Or do I delegate this because someone else can do it better, faster, or cheaper? So, for example, when I hire recruiters, I spent all my time hiring and training them. I was still working crazy hours because, as I said, I still was the bottleneck. So I built systems. I gave them KPIs and ownership over their reporting. I set weekly one-on-ones to coach them, and then I invested in external trainers to make them better at things I didn't know. And that freed me up to focus on the next bottleneck, which was marketing. Right now, a big chunk of my time goes to creating content. So my next logical hire is someone to help me with ideation, research, and social media management, so I can focus on the high leverage tasks like outlining my videos and recording them, because nobody can record my videos but me. So do this mini exercise. Write down 1 or 2 buckets that are low money, high time, and that you hate. And that's your next hire. That's the next role you should fill. Because when you see the low money, high hate buckets, your next hire becomes obvious. Now, let me show you how to turn that into a real job description so you stop guessing and you start hiring the right person. Most job descriptions are garbage because they're not based on what the business actually needs. They're based on what sounds good. You've done the work. You know where your time goes, what makes money, and what you hate. Now let's turn that into a role. So take the buckets you want to delegate and list the tasks. And please be specific. Don't say, I need help with operations. Say you run weekly team check-ins, you track APIs, you handle client escalations, and you run the Monday meeting. And the more specific you are, the easier it is to find the right person and the faster they produce. And then you define success. What does this person need to deliver in 30, 60, and 90 days? If you can't answer that, you're not ready to hire. And don't hire for everything at once. Hire one role, train them, and then move them to the next. So when you've got a team, it's tempting to hire 3 people at once because you're kind of overwhelmed, but don't. You'll train 3 people badly instead of training 1 person well, and trust me, been there, done that, made that mistake multiple times. I hired an HR business partner, a recruiter, and a sales rep at the same time because I have lots of things on my plate and it didn't work out with any one of them. So start focused, start clear, and start with the one single most important role. All right, let's wrap this up and talk about what comes next. If you're a business owner with a small team and you're still working 60 plus hours a week, the problem isn't effort, it's roles. And we just walked through the higher step of the time freedom triangle. You audited your time, you saw what it's costing you, and then you identified things you hate or suck at. And that is your next hire. But hiring is only step 1. Once you bring someone in, you need to train them so they can do the job without you holding their hand. And that's what we're covering in the next video. How to train people fast, document your process, and get them producing results in 30, 60, or 90 days instead of 6 months to a year. And if you want the full time freedom triangle framework now, there's a free download in the description. Go get it. It's free and it's the exact system I used to go from 12-hour days to 2 to 3-hour days while my business kept growing. So grab it, work through it, and drop a comment telling me who you're hiring next. I'll see you in the next one.